So I went to Standard Jiu-Jitsu with my friend Chris Alfar. He's a black belt out of TriStar in Canada. I'd been talking to Greg for a while. Greg's awesome. One of the coolest things about Greg was I was asking him lots of questions, and I was kind of shitting on Greg really hard before I started communicating with him. And he actually did not respond to me aggressively. And I had kind of attacked him a bit.
Why were you attacking him? Go back to that.
I was just kind of telling him he's fucking stupid, and like, you know, I was telling him this, but I was wrong. Like, and here's the thing: I don't think I was necessarily wrong about the way that I had liked training wrestling, but I think I was wrong in the way that I approached it like a child and not an adult. And the way he responded to me made me respect him more, because my thing is like, Greg gets very heated on podcasts and stuff. But if people go listen to the interview I had with him on YouTube, it's like a 20-minute interview. No, it's like a 30-minute interview. And I'm asking him some like real hard-hitting questions. And like, he's chill, man. Like, he's not aggressive. He's not defensive. And it was because when I talk to him like he's a human being. And I think that's the problem, is that people don't treat Greg like he's a human being. And then, of course, like, he's gonna have, like, he could potentially have an emotional reaction to that, right? And then it's like a good reference I like to think about, and I don't want to use like religion as an example because I don't want to say CLA is a religion.
It's a cult.
Yeah. but imagine.
I'm only joking.
Yeah, we're
don't
joking.
come at me.
Oh, it was just a joke. But imagine every day you woke up, you walked outside and someone said, that's wrong. Like, you breathing air, that's wrong. And you're like, but like, it's just what I do. Like, but like, why don't you breathe water? Like, and I think sometimes that's how Greg feels, is like, no matter what he does, he gets attacked for just doing what he does. And it's crazy because people don't know Greg's been doing this for a really long time, but he got really popular recently. And so people think he just made it up now. Like, oh, he's just 2023, Greg Souders just mixed up some bullshit. But you're like, no, his gym's been open forever.
Yeah.
Right? He was at Lloyd Irvin, and then he opened up his own gym. And he's been at it for a super long time. And he has some really successful students. But I don't even like to bring up successful students because I don't necessarily like to point at individual accolades as a means to define if a coach is good or not. I actually think it's a very weak argument, and I have reasons for that. But I think Greg is a good coach. I think, like, when we talked with each other, I think I learned a lot more. Specifically, like the way that he teaches was actually very good for me. But I don't know why it was good. Because I'm not a fucking scientist, right? I enjoyed it. It was exhausting for me, but it was very doable. Clearly, the guys were super cool.
Did you learn a lot?
I did actually learn a lot. The biggest thing that I learned that I took away is learning how to kind of develop games for my classes. So like, if you go to my classes in Montreal, we're gonna do lots of like lots of games on top of our technique and technical drilling. I mean, I know Greg does not like mixed at all. But whatever, I'm not trying to convince him otherwise. I like both, and I'm not saying it's right. Yeah, it could be just a waste of time. I don't know. I'm not a scientist. But my problem was I was just doing one, which was just like static drilling. And actually, I found that I was able to teach more of a feel. I don't even know how to explain that word, but like more of a look for my students when specifically teaching wrestling, because sometimes in jiu-jitsu, it gets very static with wrestling. Like, all right, we grab the leg and that's it. And you're like, no, like realistically, you should be shooting to the leg. Your partner's sprawled before you've even got your hands locked. Like, you should be running corner. You're coming out the middle, learning how to build up to body lock, stuff like that. And I've always found that very hard to teach. And then when I implemented some of the games that Greg kind of taught, not specific games, but like the styles of games, I found it was actually a lot easier for me to start to teach techniques for late stage offense in wrestling, specifically like single legs. Like, we would do the game where it'd be like, all right, man A trying to connect two hands to man's B above man B's leg, and you know, lower the level man B. Your goal is to never allow man A to connect his hands. Okay, well, they do that, and now people are sprawling or hitting whizzers without even knowing what those things are. Brand new people. And then now I can be like, okay, guys, here's how we finish a single leg when someone sprawls. Because I was having a problem before where I'd be like, all right, guys, let's do a sprawl, and then fucking jiu-jitsu people have 2 left feet, man. So it's like trying to teach a sprawl was really hard versus when I played these games, people were intuitively not letting people touch their legs, which ended up being like a sprawl and a whizzer. But my thing was I liked doing both because I'm like, okay, you know the consequence. Now let's slow it down and let's do a technique about how I like to kind of address a sprawl, you know, without resistance, right? But yeah, I don't know. I get why Greg does it the way he does it. I get it a lot more now that I went.
I just think I think it looks great. It looks fun. It looks exactly, you know, when I watched what you was doing, it looks really good and really fun. And I understand the benefit of it. I think the biggest problem sometimes is just the way Greg comes across. Yeah. And then he'll just be like quite condescending to people when they're talking to him. And because they don't understand at the same level he does, because I don't think anyone really does, like understand his vision at the same level. Yeah, and then he just gets really frustrated and then he puts them into like on the back foot. And then it just goes to and fro. And then people are like, Greg's a wanker. He's not. He was super nice to us. Like he was so nice to us, wasn't he? He was like, it was a really good podcast and he was really good. So we haven't, you know, got anything bad to say, but when I listen to podcasts that he's in, and he will put you on the back foot, as even if you're just a regular like conversation, he'll just put something back to you, and you're like, what do you mean? And we don't you kind of don't understand the question that he's even asking you. You know what I mean, or the purpose of the question. And I think that's where he gets a bad rap. I think so, you know what I mean? Like I don't think it's actually the process. I don't actually think like what he's offering and what he's telling people to do is fucking good. I don't dispute that. I think for sure the big problem why he gets so much controversy is just the way he comes across. For sure. I 100%. Does that make sense? Like it's just that. I think it's just his personality type. He's a bit prickly. He's a bit of a prickly personality. You know what I mean? Like if he doesn't agree with what you say, he's going to argue with you until the cows come home. Whereas if you have an opinion and I have an opinion, I'm not going to say to you that's fucking shit until you know, and just argue it out, because I'll just say, well, that's Brandon's opinion. Like, I'll just let that go. Like, I don't agree, or he don't agree with me, but, you know, whereas he'll be like quite confrontational about it. Yeah. And I think that's where all the controversy comes from. I don't think it's actually CLA. For sure. I hate debates too. Like, I think they're absolutely meaningless. And I think like when the conversations start getting really emotional, then it's like, why are we having this conversation? And I think like any of like the really viral moments with Greg are the very emotionally heated ones. Yeah, it's like a snippet in it of like the whole conversation though, I find is lost. And then it's like that 1 30-second thing, isn't it? But that's just social media. That's just... Yeah, it's like we said, it's social media, man. That's it, yeah. I think my advice, because I really like Greg, I think that the best way to get to know Greg, at least get to like have, because you'll never actually truly know someone, right? That's a very hard thing to do. But a good thing for people to do is instead of arguing with Greg or Greg arguing with them, I think it would be good to have a conversation with Greg if you went and trained with him for a week. And then I find you can have more educated, not you, but in general, the people. No, but it would be me. Yeah. It's no problem saying that. Like it would be. I would love to go and train there because I'm interested in what he trains like. He would be very welcoming and he would treat you well and he would make sure you're safe and feeling good. And so it'd be like, I think the best interviews with Greg would happen if you went and trained with him for a week and then you say, Greg, because he will say yes. He will always say yes. If you're like, Greg, I want to interview you after, because that's what I did. I was like, I wanted to interview him before, but then I was like, no. I'm going to buy a flight. I'm going to go train. I don't want to talk to him before, like I actually train. Like I don't want to like have a good long, because I'm going to sound like an idiot. But I found that I had a lot more informed questions and critiques after training with him. And he was a lot, also I think I put down the wall myself by going there and being humble and finding out he's a great coach. Like I really loved the way he taught me. Like he did little things that made me feel like I was back in like an old wrestling school with like the games where he didn't do too much intervention, but he did enough to make me go, oh, this is very specific, right? And I think it's a lot more specific than people think it is. And I really found a lot of value for going. And that's why I tell everyone when they ask me about the Greg Souders experience is like, Greg can be an emotional person on podcasts. And I think podcasts aren't his best platform because people often go to podcasts with leading questions to make Greg,
break out, whatever. So I think, not that leading questions are always bad. I think if people go train with him, their questions will change and they'll be better questions. And I think when the questions get better, you notice that Greg's less emotional, because then I can ask Greg, like, why do you do this? I think this might be better. He can be like, oh, you're actually asking why I do exactly this in my class. You're not just doing this like thing that you saw on some random Facebook ad where they're like, Greg Souders says, I hate drilling, right? So which most of the questions will be like, Greg, why do you hate drilling? you know Atos does drilling. But instead, you can be like, oh, Greg, when you're at practice, I noticed that with your terminal games, you do this. Or, hey, I didn't realize that you mix terminal and continuous games. Why do you do that instead of just doing continuous games? And it's like, oh, now I can ask you questions and you can be like, oh, either maybe I haven't thought about that, or, I do it this way because I want this end result. And I think Greg has better interviews with people who go train with him, but I actually don't think there's that many people who have gone and trained with him and then interviewed him,
I think he needs to not do an instructor. I think he needs to do like a course.
Yeah, too late. Too late.
Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah,
too late.
Do you know what I mean? Like a course where he's like actually going to sit there every week and speak to the coaches and teach like how they're going to not just give them the games, like understand the methodology better.
Yeah, I think he tries by telling people what the books are. Like he'll tell you like Rob Gray.
Yeah, well, you've read them, haven't you?
Yeah, I got through 1.5, but you got to be into science, man.
It's too much. Yeah. But it's crazy. It's like I get people's beef with Greg, because I had the same beef. Greg is emotional. We've talked about this, but I'm fucking emotional, right? And like sometimes I'm too emotional. And the worst part about social media is it sometimes brings the worst out of us, and it doesn't like show people. Like one of my friends, Evan, a really good guy, the D2 wrestler, was talking about the other day, and we were talking about how often we dehumanize people who have any level of popularity, right? Even in a niche like jiu-jitsu, we tend to dehumanize people, right? So it's very easy to be like, you fucking suck, you're an idiot, you don't know what you mean, instead of being like, what do you mean, right? And I think a lot of times, like, a lot of us get that, right? If you're in the space at all, you get that. And I think that's one of the reasons I wanted to go see Greg, is because I've seen the toxic side of being a part of social media, right? And I was like, fuck it. I'm no longer going to be like this headline reader who just kind of spews things that I've heard. I'm going to go see what it is. And there were things that I liked. I mean, there was so much that I liked. And then there were things that I didn't like. Like I felt like I couldn't keep up with like the conditioning level of it, right? I felt like I did a really bad job of pacing myself, and I think that would change over time of doing anything. But there was nothing in particular that I didn't like from Greg himself. Actually, I was very impressed by the fact about how intentional he is as a coach. Man, he makes the guys wear heart rate monitors, and like he checks to make sure the guys aren't getting like sick. Like they have like the app to where like you can see your fatigue levels. So he'll be like, hey, Noah, today you're not training because I saw on the app like your numbers are like low, so you're out for the day.
No way.
Yeah, and they all have the same strength and conditioning coach. All of the pros have the same strength and conditioning. They all go and support each other for competitions.
Oh, that's fantastic. I didn't say again, but he doesn't say this.
He does, but
I don't know what he didn't say to us, but I've not heard him say that.
But it was like crazy because I was like, oh shit, Greg's a fucking good coach, man.
Yeah,
like
that's genius, man.
He's a true coach.
That's professional.
And
that's the very little.
But people don't hear about it. People don't hear about it because it's when I had the interview with him, I try to approach it and talk as little about CLA as possible with him. I did talk about it, right? Like I asked, like, what's a terminal game? What's a continuous game, right? Those are the two types of games that he plays. And maybe there's more, but those are the words that he uses is terminal and continuous. But when I talked to him, I wanted to be like, who's Greg as a coach? But jiu-jitsu people are people who usually who weren't athletes before. So when they think about coach, they think about an instructor, which is someone who teaches you technique. But Greg's not an instructor. He's a coach. He creates practices where he guides you to potential solutions, right? Or he tries to put you in places where solutions can be found. Now, is it the best way? I don't fucking know.
Is it more fun than just drilling and regular coaching? Is it like more enjoyable when you go to class?
Yes. It's so much more fun. And it's shorter too. Like the classes were, he could tell you like, I can't, maybe like 45 minutes.
Yeah, he said his guys train 45 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Well, that's it.
That's it.
You said that on our podcast.
Yeah. I knew you said 1 session a day, but I didn't realize it was 45 minutes.
Yeah, it's about 45 minutes. I tried to do 2 sessions a day. So my first day I did 2 sessions. I was wrecked. And I was like, it was so funny. I was talking shit to Greg. I like this guy a lot, man. He's funny. I was like, Greg, I'm here for 5 days. I'm going to train twice a day every day. He was like, okay, we're going to see. Bro, after the first day of training twice a day, I couldn't get up out of bed. I was like, Greg, I'll see you at 7 p.m. He was like, I told you, bro. But yeah, it's like no one's out of shape there, and it's very good. Yeah, I mean, I think he's awesome, man, and I really feel for him and I empathize for him because social media is horrible, and I think he is an emotional guy, and I think he could do a lot better job not being condescending, because his biggest problem is, yes, he can be very fucking condescending. Like I think even he knows this, and I think like I don't know what the solution to it is. Maybe you just got to work on yourself, or maybe you do less interviews, or maybe you pick your interviews. Like I don't do every interview that people ask me to. Like I get asked for do so many podcasts, but I'm like, I don't fucking know you, bro. Like, but for Greg, he does everything because he just wants to share it, but also he's an emotional guy and he can be condescending, and he's Greg, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's that passion is also why he's a really good coach. And no one's perfect, and no matter what, he could be a lot worse than what he is. And I feel for him, but I also understand people's hate towards him. And I've told him this, and this is why I did not like him at first. Because like, dude, you're a fucking asshole. Like that's why if you go look at our old messages, like, dude, no one's gonna listen to you because you're an asshole. And he knows it. He knows it, and I think he wants to work on it. But I can't speak for him.
Yeah, I saw him on the Simple Man podcast, and I think he brought in a couple that he brought in the Corbet brothers, and I think DeAndre joked that he was there to moderate Greg and make him more podcast friendly, which I thought was quite funny. But you talk about like obviously all the heat he gets, but obviously the opportunity he's now got with CJI,
yeah, it's crazy,
is largely because of that heat and his polarizing character. So it's not all bad, man.
It's not all bad. You're right. That is true. It's freaking awesome that he's the coach. I don't know how that's gonna work, but whatever.